Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Fill Your Fierceness Cup and Nourish Yourself with Wonder and Joy. I'm Jenn Baljko, your fierce awakened woman joy journey companion. I'm the founder of jenniferbalco.com and always on my way. Some of you know me from the Fierce Awakened Woman Conference, and some of you know me before that, from some time before that. And I am helping others discover their unique gifts in stories through creativity, meditation, and mindful writing mentoring. I'm also facilitating conversations to encourage all of us to leap into life and leap up together. So today we're going to look at how enchantment can revitalize and become a foundational part of the next phase of our joy journeys and how it can help fill us up with wonder and joy so that we can begin to appear in life in the way that fierce and awakened means to us right now in this moment. But before we go too far down, I want to give us a little bit of context of why I think we're here. And you guys can put this in the chat if you have a reason why you showed up today, and a little bit of a context of where we're going and what we'll be exploring in today's webinar, and then going deeper with over the next few weeks, if that's going to be an option for you as well. So I think we're here today because we can all use a boost in sparking our joy and our creativity and our vitality. And now is as good as any a time to reassess and activate some of the dreams and wishes that we want to live and experience right now. We've all gone through whatever 2020 was for each of us, and 2021 still holds uncertainty and perhaps a little bit more optimism than it did last year. But still, there's a great amount of movement that's going to be needed to get us, through all of the things that we lived through last year. And we have probably not yet fully felt that impact yet. So I'm calling this gathering as a way for us to begin to explore these concepts so that we can prepare ourselves for our whatever is next, for our what if and our yes and. Some of you might remember I talked about that during the Fierce Awakened Women's Conference of we have to look and reassess at what is possible for us and how can we step into that yes and take the fierce action of owning that and becoming responsible for taking those next steps. So today's conversation is about looking at our fierce awakened life force and how we can more genuinely be in this space. But I also want it to be a way that we connect to each other and a way that we belong to each other so that we can, through this virtual community that we're creating, begin to not just empower ourselves, but to take what we know and to share our wisdom with our families, with our communities, in other virtual communities, and hopefully soon in physical communities where we can play to this strength of wonder and joy and enchantment and fierceness and courage and all these other words that we'll use to describe what we're doing and where we're going. So these are things that I've actually been thinking quite a lot about, especially as I've been preparing for the Fierce Awakened Woman journey. It was a journey. It was its own journey. And I think that these are conversations that could really move us forward. So, what this has sort of manifested as to me is something I'm calling the Fierce Awakened Woman's Wheel of Enchantment. And I'll show you a bit of a first draft diagram that I have on that, and we'll jump into that. But for the rest of this sort of hour or so that we'll be together, an hour, 15 minutes, I want you to just, begin to think about what is joy journeying for you? What is at the center of your life right now? What is the thing you value the most? What what is something we can vision and envision and illuminate? And what are these qualities that make up enchantment? What is joy and wonder and fierceness? And how does this relate to your life right now? And then we're gonna do a creative meditative practice, and it's something that I forgot that I loved to do when I was a kid. And I have a background in journalism and writing, so we will play with words, and this will be one of the things we'll do a little bit later. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about ways that we can go deeper into this and journey together into this. And then we'll have a short Q&A and sharing section. And you can put things in the comments in the chat. Make sure you hit panelists and attendees so we can all take a look at what you're asking or talking about. You can put a question in the Q&A section as well, and I'll be monitoring that as we go, but I'll probably be looking at it a little bit closer to the end as we get closer to the end of that. But I want to take just a pulse of where you guys are at today. And you could put this in the chat, but I'll throw this up as a question. How fierce are you feeling today? Maybe a one is, yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out with the idea of fierce. And 10 is, I'm so fierce, tigers step away when they see me coming. So today, right now, in this moment, how fierce are you feeling? I'll give you a couple seconds to pop in there. I'm feeling like an eight, and I've been feeling like an eight the last few days. I feel pretty confident and pretty, I'm, now that the conference was really great and successful, I'm feeling, the waves of that goodness coming through. I'm feeling a little bit of, I am nervous. Being visible when I can't even see all of you it makes me a little bit nervous, right? So it's how I'm playing with fierceness today too, is showing up and being here. All right, I think I got most of your answers on it. And that question, it looks like we're mostly an eight. Yeah, an eight. There's a few couple twos and threes in there. And maybe what by the end of this, we'll ask again and you'll have a different number or not. And we'll see. Seven, there are a couple of sevens, but the majority of us are an eight. Great. And now, oh, I had another poll question. Stop sharing. Well, I had another question. I don't see it here. But the other question, oh, it's the same question. See, this is why I'm still getting used to all of these things. So the other question, you could put it in the chat, was what's getting in your way today? What's making you not feel fierce? Or where is there some obstacle or challenge or blockage? I'm getting in my way. Yeah, Karen, I hear you on that. I am where I am. This does not mean think will not change. Yes. And I think we're getting into this space of moment to moment fierceness, right? How are you feeling right now? Tiredness, practical things, day to day things, financial freedom, right? This is These are all things I think that are present for so many of us right now, right? This uncertainty coming out of 2020 and 2021, and how can I build from here, and how much more stamina and resilience do I need to keep going, right? Haven't I been fierce enough already? Those are some of the same kinds of things, getting in my own way, right? Just the mental chatter of it all, right? Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, illness, right? And sadness and all these other things we're dealing with. So now, what would fill up your fierceness cup? And I had on that poll, and I don't see that question there, strangely, but what would fill up your fierceness cup? And I had on the list imagination, wonder, joy, curiosity, courage, resilience, patience, something else. What is some quality that you have right now in your heart center that might make you feel a little bit more fierce? Any ideas? For me, my default is always imagination. This is something that I fall back on. And I actually have the word imagine tattooed on my foot in high letters. Um, because with every step I take, I can imagine my destination. I can imagine and invent a new way of being in the world if I choose it, right? I can imagine something that I am going after. And confidence, yeah, Karen, right? Confidence and to not worry about what other people think, and having more time to dream and create. This is one of the things we'll be exploring more, having more time to dream and create, and having a mind shift change, right? Yeah, this is coming up in the chat now. So thank you for sharing that. And it's with this that I'm going to sort of dive into this idea of enchantment and use this as the word. This is my April word of the month. And I'm going to invite you to explore it as well. And what is enchanting? Why, what is bringing you enchantment right now? And just so that we have a common vernacular here, the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines enchanting as powerfully pleasing, appealing, delightful, charming. But there's always this, I always think of enchantment and enchanting with a little bit of a magical aspect to it, that there's something mystical and fantastical about it. It's the unicorns, right? It's the legends, the Greek mythology legends. For me, it's Lord of the Rings and elves and things like that that have always been something that's enchanted me. Connection, right? And now, but I even find really small things to be completely enchanting, like ants and bees and moonlight, and like watching from day to day a flower change. I'm so captivated by this. And I find myself in those moments of, wow, wow, like these small little things that can make us feel momentary, momentary and subtle changes of happiness, but that over time can really add up and accumulate to quite a lot of movement. So that's where we're going to start a little bit today, is just setting this stage about the joy journey, right? And how this fits into our fierceness. And for many of us, we may have been on transformation journeys. We may have been on healing journeys. We have been um, probably in the career woman journey, and maybe journeying towards a second career or a third career. Maybe we've also been on the wife and mother and family organizing journey, being the caregiver and the healer and the person who organizes the household, right? We've had all sorts of journeys here. And for me, right now at 49, I've been through many of those journeys myself. And where they're all sort of leading me to is the idea that in whatever mm, third act I'm in, as I get a little bit closer to 50, and for however long I have between now and my last breath, I want my journey to be infused with joy. And joy is a natural expression for me. But because I was always worried about what everybody thought about me and being perceived as maybe the ditzy blonde or whatever words were used, I always mm, I took steps back from fully expressing that in my life to be the more serious and analytical, and in journalism, cynical in questioning everything, right? And that also comes from my sense of curiosity. But there was, I felt like I couldn't be my joyful, happy self and be taken seriously. And now I'm done with that. I'm breaking that limitation about that, and I am going to do my own joy journey. And part of that is showing up here, even with there's butterflies in my stomach, and carrying you with me, in whatever way all of you will show up. Our joy journeys are going to intersect, and they're intersecting right now. And I'm grateful for that experience because joy isn't the answer to everything, and it doesn't get us through the discomfort of life, but it does help us keep getting back up into life and then taking the next step, right? It's a possibility. So here's where I'm going to share um, just what how I'm sort of envisioning this. Let me just pull this up. Can you guys see this? Okay. You see this chart here. Okay. So this is something I've been playing with. This is just sort of the first draft of what I'm looking at, but I'm calling it the Fierce Awakened Women's Wheel of Enchantment or Woman's Wheel of Enchantment. And I'm seeing this as a way to activate the dynamic grace we were talking about a few weeks ago in the conference, how we can courageously, step into this being wonderful, not wonderful, filled with wonder, how we are inventing possibilities, how we are cycling through all these different aspects of life and playfully and intentionally recreating our life's map so that we can leap in and leap up. And this is loosely based. Some of you may have seen Peggy Moore's session during the Fierce Awakened Women conference, and I will make that video available again. And she talks about the Celtic medicine wheel and the directional ways that you work with the ancestors of the East and the South and the West and the North. And I loosely modeled some of what I've been thinking with that sort of directional purpose. So we're going to start right here in the center of the fierce awakened life force. And whatever that means to you right now, think about that for a second. Is that love? Is that willingness? Is that intuition? Is that empowerment? Whatever that is for you, what's the core of what you value? And for right now, we're gonna talk about this is the eighth quadrant, which is the area. It's an air element, and it is the illumination. it is shining the light on things. It's has an inventive quality here. And in the terminology of the wheel of enchantment, I'm seeing it as a visioning, like envisioning, visioning. What if? This is our what if scenarios. And what we can imagine an enchantment, an illumination, and just moving right here to now, like to this, like what are some of those qualities that I see in this quadrant? This is wonder and gratitude and play and joy and dreaming and map making. And I feel that wherever we are on our life journey and our self experience and our lived experience, when we can step into this sort of east quadrant of visioning and illuminating, where we can see the possibility of things coming forward and how we can start gravitating our course in that direction, right? So there'll be practices that we'll do not today, but in the class that I'll tell you about in a few minutes. But we'll take some of these practices and these words, and we'll start map making and do it from a place of wonder and gratitude and enchantment, because life is hard. I mean, when we kind of look around this wheel and I see this down here in the south, the venturing out part. This is the yes and action. It's the crossing the threshold and developing a creative flow. This is fire. This is the fire element in our bodies and expressing ourselves. It's burning away what's not needed. It's nurturing our soul song. It's dancing with courage and integrity and resilience. And then we will inevitably face the valiant effort is what I'm calling that, because this is when the disappointment and the fear and the doubt and the sadness and the regret and the frustration come into play and knock us down. And Dr. Scott Newell said in his session a couple weeks ago about sometimes when you get knocked down, you may not be able to get right back up. You may need help getting back up. And this, right in here too, this valiant effort part is when you intuitively know you have to get back up. You might ask for help. Other people may come and help you. But there's a turning point. And then from the turning point, we come back and we tap into the earth energy of vitality and strength, and we take a fresh start and we renew our motivation. We renew our hope and harmony, and we begin again to see the possibilities that we begin to envision. So this, for me right here, right now, I feel like the visioning part of life is before us. And it's with this, I'm going to stop sharing this now. And we're going to do this word game that I'm hoping will help to start creating what could be an enchanted sense of vision for all of us. And what I'd like you to do is just, if you're in a place where you can have a comfortable seat, where you can, feel comfortable and at ease. If you're in a safe place where you can close your eyes for a few minutes, for a few seconds, or just stay aware of your environment as well. Don't shut down the environment. This is an inward journey, but it's also very dynamic because it's based in what is going on in your life at the moment. So this practice, I was thinking about this a couple weeks ago, and I was doing this as well. And so you know, I'm here because I also want to learn all this stuff. So by me speaking the words out loud, it becomes something that I'm also learning how to express as well. So some of you may be of an age that you remember things called Mad Libs. They were really popular in like the 70s and 80s. And they would give you a story and you would fill in words. And if you did it with your friends, it was always really funny to see how those stories would turn out. So, we're going to do a little bit of a version of this where we invite ourselves to daydream for a few minutes and default to what your 5 or 7 or 8 or 10-year-old self would say. Get out of your current mind and invite a bit of enchantment and magic and fantasy as we play. So let's start with this practice with if I was, and then you fill in the blank, finish the sentence. If I was, this is a first thought, best thought kind of game. Don't overthink it. Just whatever pops into mind, let that be the word. If I had. So if I was and if I had, if I could only, then I would. What? If I was, fill in the blank with your word. And if I had, fill in the blank with your word. If I could only, whatever that word or phrase is, then I would what? And then I could, what could you do? Oh, then, wow, if all of this happened, what else could I'll repeat this again. Maybe if you have a pen or notebook handy, you could jot down a few of these words and just begin to think wherever you are right now. If I was, if I had, if I could only, then I would, and I could, oh wow, if all of that happened, then what? Let's sink in for a few minutes because we may have forgotten how to be enchanted. We may have forgotten what, what running wild and free in a backyard feels like, or, just observing small things in our space. That's a magical aspect to it. And when we tap into this and start reframing it around the visioning and creating the what if scenario, and then eventually moving into the yes and action. This, I really believe, has to be a fundamental step Yeah, I'll share, like, I had, um when I was a kid, I loved all of the, like, Greek mythology, uh, standpoints and, stories, and I love imagining that I had a unicorn and a red carpet. So, I had, when I was doing this the other day and sort of part of my meditation practice, I was, I'll see if I remember it all, but I had this image of if I was an astronaut, which at one point in life when I was a kid I dreamed to be. If I was an astronaut and if I had a magic red carpet, if I could only like fly to the far away points of the galaxy, then I would forever be grateful and like I could come back with all of the secrets of the universe and save the planet. And then, oh wow, if I could do that, then, you know, then the world would be great again and saved and we would have trees, And then it kind of went into some mind game after that. But I love this, right? If I was a rabbit, Michelle says, if I was a rabbit and I had a carrot, then I could eat and grow big rabbit and have babies. Nonsense. Right. Like this is the state that we're in. It's just allowing yourself to sort of dream into the nonsense of things. Because then when you have the nonsense, you can start filtering out the sensical things and then start putting more practical steps into place. But I know for me, the loss, the loss of 2020, and I don't feel that it's my own loss. I feel like this collective loss has really made me miss the time I used to spend daydreaming because everything felt so heavy last year. And so needing a different level of focus. And how we can begin to remember that. We've been talking about this in the Fierce Awakened Woman conference, and hopefully some of you were able to see that, some of those sessions. But these are the words that I'm going to keep bringing up because we have to remember who we are and we have to remember the work that we've come here to do. It may not be the work that we're doing right now. And we may have had inklings of this decades ago, and it's only now beginning to really take shape and form. And this is where I'm going to tell you how we're going to go deeper on this. And how how I want to encourage sort of deep listening because there may be a sense of um, urgency. Uh, Things are going really fast right now, and we will have to make choices soon about how to be in whatever new transition space we're in, which is still being defined globally. We're not out of the pandemic situation yet. We're not we're not all vaccinated. We may not be getting vaccinated. We're not we're not through it all yet. So preparing now for some of the transition will involve a deep sense of listening. And I'm one of these people, I feel like I have to hear things 5 or 6 times before I go, oh, yeah, of course that's what I'm doing. But there is some conscious or subconscious role that my body and mind and heart are doing as I try to, I guess, sort through my next actions, right? And my what if scenarios. And my what if scenario right now is leaving my journalism career behind and moving into this role of mindful writing mentorship, creativity mentorship, and facilitating conversations. Like really fundamentally one of the reasons why I got into journalism was to create space for people's voices, right? So that's something that will carry forward with me. But this idea of deep listening, of slow listening, and what kinds of practices we're going to put in place, and how we can become a community that co-creates this. This is the next step for me. And I believe it's going to be a next step for many of us. And not knowing where that um, will happen is something that's going to be really important to us. So, what I'm offering, I'm going to start a class next Tuesday. It will be at 6 o'clock Europe time for about an hour and a half. That's about 12. That's 12 o'clock in East Coast US, 9 a.m. on the West Coast. And I get confused with some of the other time zones right now, but you can convert that time zone. And it is the continuation of this conversation, and it will be a very interactive uh, conversation. It will be a very small group. Um, okay, let me just share this and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. So, and I'll put this in the chat. This, oh, hold on, I don't actually have that. I don't have that. I'll put this link in the website for you. And if this is something that appeals to you, I'd love for us to continue this and keep going forward with this. So it's alwaysonmyway.com. Fill your fierceness cup. I'm sorry, alwaysonmyway.com / fill your fierceness cup. And it's in the chat there. But basically what we're doing, it's going to be a 5-week workshop starting next Tuesday, April 13th. And it includes also a half-day retreat that I'm going to co-teach with 4 other people. I'm still organizing that part of it. That half-day retreat will be in May, at the end of May. So it will be April 13th, April 20th, April 27th, May 4th, and May 11th, with the half-day retreat that is going to be the fierce awakened stories we tell ourselves, how mindfulness, collaboration, creativity, and movement revitalize our joy. And that's going to be Saturday, May 22nd. And I was really, um, and this is going to be a free half day event on top of the workshops, the 5-week workshops. The workshops will be about an hour and a half each session. And then this is going to be a 5-hour half day retreat. And it will be the retreat will be open to all, because I do want people to be able to think about the stories we're telling ourselves about fierce and awakened, and how we can bring in aspects of mindfulness and co-creation and creativity and movement. Dance has been really important to me in 2020, and getting my body, feeling a different rhythm, a different vibe, and a different whatever my body wants to do at that moment has been incredibly important to me. And it's something I feel we could all use a little bit more of, in my opinion. But this will be open to everybody, and you'll get a way to invite your friends to this. But I was really deliberate in trying to figure out what I envisioned for this next set of workshops. And I've decided to limit the enrollment to 25 joy journeyers. And I want this because, and you can read more about this, there's a whole lot of information here of where I'm intending to go with this, but I'll skip down to sort of here of where we go next. Discovering more about our joy journeys and learning more about this wheel of enchantment, and sort of co-creating that together, and how we cycle through all of these different emotions. And I'm calling it the wheel of enchantment, but I've visualized this in different ways. I've envisioned it as layered spirals, that go up and down. I've envisioned it as infinity infinity bands that kind of get looped together as a ball. But I felt like the wheel was at least visually an easier way to explain this movement right now. And we might be in the same hour in every different quadrant. We might go through a moment where we feel really joyful, and then some news comes in. We have to deal with a disappointment or a failure or lack of confidence. And then we got to find a way to revitalize ourselves and keep going. So, the purpose of the next step, as I envision it, is gathering with this purpose of reigniting our fierceness and doing it in a community of people who are dedicated to doing these next steps. And I put here, this workshop's for you if you've been feeling blah about life and want to make space to have more fun. If you're tired of feeling stuck and worried and uncertain, and if you want to reignite your internal spark of hope and joy to carry you forward. If you've been imagining, envisioning your own brilliant breakthrough and need a nudge to take the next step, this is where we're at, right? And you looking for new ways to express who we are, who we're becoming, who we are as fierce awakened women in 2021 at whatever age and whatever stage of life we're in right now, and how we can belong together and co-create that and collaborate on this. I don't think this is something we can always do by ourselves. And having some accountability and working with small groups, I think would be the way that we all leap in and leap up, right? We don't have to leap in and down and go smash down into the ground. We can leap and then uplift ourselves and uplift our communities. I love, this is Guy Kawasaki who wrote Enchantment, the art of changing hearts, minds, and actions. Let yourself be enchanted in small ways. And that's the invitation for this. So here's the program agenda. You can read more about this, but each of the 5 sessions will include a heart open practice. We're going to do this in Zoom meetings. So I will see you and we'll have a nice connection virtually for now. Maybe one day we can do this physically, but for now we'll do it virtually. We'll have a heart opening practice to unify our community. We'll go through each week, we'll hit a different quadrant of the Wheel of Enchantment. We're definitely going to have a wisdom sharing circle that's going to be grounded with a fairly focused and thought provoking question. And I'll lead some of that, but I will be asking the community to also participate in that and to pose a question like, what is the thought of the week or the question of the week? We're also going to have small breakout groups so that we can create and strengthen our sisterhood bonds and get to know each other in our group of 25 or so people, hopefully 25. I think that sounds like a good number to me. And we'll have these small groups where I don't want to call them fast friendships because I hope they are enduring and lasting friendships, and um, that they inspire us to want to work together and to see where all of our unique gifts are coming in right now so that we can support and encourage and activate each other and inspire each other. So the small breakout sessions are going to be important. And then there's going to be some sort of creativity or meditation practice that um, we'll start in that session and then we'll carry out with during the week. So here are the weekly themes. We're going to just, kind of go back and talking a little bit more about the Fierce Awakened Life Force and putting more specific intention around our joy journey and really giving space for all of us to talk about that and discuss where we're at and what, at least for the next few weeks, we can work towards together, individually and collectively. Then we're going to go into the what ifs. What are we envisioning and imagining for ourselves? How can we usher in more joy and wonder? What's available to us now, and what possibilities and opportunities do we have as we map the next phase of our life? What's the course that we're going to take? How are we? What's the directional guidance that we can have, even in the uncertainty? Where's the direction that we want to head towards? And then it's the venturing out and saying yes. What's firing us up? What can be burned away? What can we bring some more patience and compassion and determination to, so that we can achieve in small and subtle ways what will accumulate into, many footsteps of joy, hopefully. And then we go back into this area, and it might be sort of the vulnerable space where I'm rephrasing that as a valiant effort, because vulnerability is being willing to be open to what's so I I am not always willing to be open to attack. So, and I'm not shirking away from that. I am also working with being exposed and exposing my own vulnerability. But I also am a long distance walker, and I walk across two continents. Some of you may know that, for 3.5 years, from Bangkok to Barcelona. And what has always moved me sort of forward is sort of that valiant effort, that perseverance to acknowledge the disappointment and the doubt and the fear and the million and one possible ways this house of cards that I was building could completely fall apart, and then to still take the next step and carry on with my 40-pound backpack and all of the weight of that journey. It takes an effort. And how do we get through those tough parts? And how can we support each other in getting through those tough parts? And then there's the part about re-energizing our vitality and strengthening our fierce awakened life force. And we come full circle back around to that. What does a fresh start look like right now? Are you in a position to make a new beginning? Is every breath a new beginning, for instance? And how we can move our perspective around so that we can create more hope and harmony in our lives, and own that responsibly. Own our own greatness there. And then the half day retreat on May 22nd. We're going to look at the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. We're going to unglue the stories that no longer serve us. We're going to reflect on aspects of ourselves that will benefit from taking a new start or a new perspective. We're going to mindfully create a new I am poem or song or story, so that we can continue becoming and blossoming into wherever we are in life and whatever's meant for us right now. And then there's going to be celebratory movement of, um, probably with dance and music. That part is still being worked out, but really just embracing our fierce and fun, fantastic lives and each other. So that's where I'm going for the next few weeks, and I hope you come along. The value of this is $397 US, but I really want to see more fierce, awakened women rising up. And this is for men too. I'm using the word woman only because I feel like I'm the sister that supports that. But I'm also the sister to men who are looking for this as well. So the price that I'm putting this at, that includes the 5 week sessions and the half-day retreat, is $222. And because I really want us to have a more intimate and customized sort of experience with this, I am limiting enrollment to 25 joy journeyers. If there's a lot of demand for it, I will consider doing a simultaneously second session. But I'd really want us to get to know each other and become, for this part of 2021 and hopefully onwards, a really cohesive and connected group. And I'm thinking of other ways that we can do this within the 5 weeks. I know 5 weeks is not a very long period of time to get to know each other, but I feel like it's a good foundation to start with. And um, there is a bonus. There's a little bit of an action here. If this is something you're really feeling you want to dive into and learn with me and walk with all of us to do this, the first three people who register also receive a free 30-minute joy call with me, and I'll do a spirit animal reading. I have this fun deck of cards for spirit animals, and I pull cards like this every day. I am not a professional tarot or oracle reader, but it's a joy call, and sometimes having a little message from the animal and nature world, I always find it to bring a little bit of spark and spunk to my day, and like, oh, look who showed up. So today I actually pulled unicorn today, which was kind of interesting. And I'm looking at it because I put them over there, and I pulled a hummingbird yesterday. So I thought, oh, this is actually quite fun to add this to the offering for you guys. I do also believe that joy journeying is beneficial when it becomes a collective experience. So there will be a limited number of full and partial scholarships available. I really want to meet you where you are, and I know economic hardship through pandemic times is a very real reality for many of us, and I don't want the money to get in the way of your joy journey. So if this is a situation that you're in, please reach out to me, and we'll talk more about it and get that set up and see how we can come together in that way and find a solution or a resolution for that. And registration closes on Monday, April 12th. So Europe time, uh, midnight Europe.